This is the same data set, not really the same one, but it's a similar data set that we looked at in the last example of data analysis. However, this is in a tool that is designed specifically to test for a few key performance parameters. Specifically, is the number and kind of treatment spaces correct? Does the staffing, both physician and nursing schedules, match the needs of the incoming patients? 3, are the rooms laid out next to each other or adjacent to each other in a way that's efficient? And how will the projected space perform under the load of projected patient volumes? Lastly, what would the effect of process change be on the performance of the layout? So in this case, we're going to look at no process improvements, but we are going to look at real patients that came into the emergency department, but we've projected them at an increased volume. And the way we've done that is by sometimes duplicating patients. So these are real patient records that were taken from an average busy day in this hospital. We have duplicated from time to time these in order to increase the volume of those patients. Now, once again, we haven't changed the overall length of stay or any of the parts of the length of stay. This would be as if they were to build this unit with making no changes whatsoever. How would it perform? Now I'm going to go to the testing screen, and this is a diagram of the floor plan of the projected unit. This was done very early in the process. These were really almost freehand sketches so that we didn't waste a lot of time going down the wrong road. Let me acquaint you with how this is read. First of all, this is a linear peripheral circulation scheme topology. We're not advocating that. It's just that it's easy to understand in this quick example. So patient rooms are aligned in parallel rows, the top row, the bottom row. And patients circulate around in the yellow corridor and come in from the outside. The staff works from the middle towards the inside. This is an example of the interior corridor or the interior workspace. Staff members work in the middle. They then go to the patient rooms, which are on either side of this little core. So you can see we have spaces in the middle that are red dots, which represent nurses. This is nurse 1, nurse 2, nurse 3, nurse 4, nurse 5, nurse 6. They have a schedule that we have established for this test, and we want to see if that matches the incoming flow of patients. Physicians are the blue dots, and similarly, we can only bring them on when they are scheduled to come on. In the event that they aren't, then it thwarts the incoming flow of patients in some fashion. There is a clock, starts at 8 o'clock, ends at 2300, actually 2400, and then this is the list of patients that have to be triaged into a room at the given time. So if I click 8 o'clock, those were the actual number of patients in reality that came into this emergency department, and in some cases they have been expanded, as I showed you on the previous page. So we have to find a home for every one of these. And in this case, one of the rules of the game is that we don't want to overload the nurses that are available. So we have nurse 1, 2, and 3 on duty. So we sent one patient here, another patient here, another patient there. Since they're working in sort of a crucifix form, we sent one to each area. Also in this plan, the rooms with red rectangles around them are resuscitation rooms. So you can see that those are not ganged together in one part of the ED. They're put next to each one of the work areas. So the intent here is to try to equal out the workload so that each nurse has in front of them an array of rooms: minor, urgent, and emergent, minor, urgent, and emergent, etc. And you can see they're scattered down the hall. We're going to test that to see if this in fact really makes some sense. And we've tried to locate them together so that you could have two patients that come in from a motor vehicle accident and one person can share that, or one physician certainly can see these two patients. So at 8 o'clock, we've decided to distribute them. Let's go to 9 o'clock. That patient left in the minor, and we added another one here. We have the urgent and emergent still there, and we've triaged these into their space. Now, 10 o'clock, things seem to pick up a little bit. We also have a fifth nurse that comes on duty. We'll see how effectively they're being used. In this case, let's take a quick scan. We have minor, urgent, emergent, minor or urgent, urgent, emergent, urgent, urgent, emergent, and this one has an urgent a little underutilized. Let's go to 11 o'clock. And once again, these 5 nurses look like they're being very well utilized. There is a couple of gaps left open on purpose so that if an emergent patient comes in, we have a slot to put them in. We've attempted to try to add patients into the mix for a nurse when they do not have a bunch of new patients as well, or a bunch of emergent patients to care for. So let's go to 12. Now we got a slug of minor patients that have now pretty much filled the ED. I didn't tell you about some little spaces in the front. These little spaces are abutting triage. So triage is actually off the screen. There are 4 spaces that will act as super track. In other words, you could take a patient in triage, bring them into this room, treat them, and discharge them directly from there without having to go to the ED. You could also do detailed triage on them, and they can come out the back door and go directly into one of these rooms. Now, there's another area that we haven't discussed, and that has to do with this zone. This zone is actually for psych patients. And you can see there's a security guard back here. So we have recliners and an enclosed space for really sick psych patients. The purpose here is to see a psych patient in these rooms, have them medically evaluated, screened, and then place them into one of these recliners so that they can be monitored carefully and easily by one individual or the minimum number of individuals, and then they eventually go to their ultimate destination. So we're testing that as well. And you can see right now we have 2 patients in there. So let's go to 1300. We have 1 patient that we've decided to see in this super track area. And we can go back, by the way, and go through these records to see all of the patients that are currently in the ED, their current bedroom number. So in this case, this is room number 1. This is the patient, and you can see why they put them there. An itchy right eye. That patient was ultimately discharged directly from that room. So let's continue on to 1400, 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800. You can see that things are starting to drop off, and I don't think we continued much beyond 2000 because there really wasn't a point in it. Yeah. So let's go back to 1400 when things were at their peak. It turned out that we had waiting, which I didn't show that's off the screen. We measured the amount of waiting. There was a certain amount of waiting, but it was for a very short period of time, less than 15 minutes. It appears as though there's the correct number of beds. The staffing distribution was a little bit off when we started to get to staff number 5 and 6. The psych area on the left side was completely underutilized, even though this particular hospital has a very high psych component, and they have a very hard time getting these patients out. This was completely underutilized, and in the end, since this was done at a very early stage, we chose to eliminate this as a component in the ED and put other things in the place. As well, when we started doing process improvement changes to this, it completely changed the face of this as well. Now, why is this tool important? Both as a projected device, but it is very important and can be a very important tool in your existing ED, which you can take your existing ED and literally play back what happened on an hour-by-hour basis, where you chose to put patients, what their acuity was, and who actually staffed them. And then you can play what-if games. You can rerun this as a simulator, like a flight simulator, and say, well, how would we get past the problems we had on that particular day? Would there have been a better strategy of utilizing our resources than what we actually did? And basically, this is one of the tools that we would fold into the complete package that we'd provide you for this project.